Hello and welcome to The Big Picture. It's the 97th birth anniversary of Indira Gandhi. Coming as it does on the heels of the 125th birth anniversary of her father, the focus of debate has been more on him than her. However, in an year when India has seen a dramatic shift in the political landscape, Indira Gandhi and her contribution is as much a topic of interest. It's 30 years since her passing away in a tragic assassination, and even her own party, the Congress, seems to have moved on. During the last 10 years of the UPA rule, Indira Gandhi and her policies and ideas were less and less heard. Now with the BJP government in power, Indira Gandhi is certainly not going to be a priority on its list. Even as the Congress and the nation seems to be rediscovering Nehru on his 125th birth anniversary, what does Indira Gandhi mean to the nation in these times? Is there something that the country as well as the government and also her party can take a leaf out of her life and times? How relevant is Indira Gandhi today? We will discuss all this today with Mridula Mukherjee, historian and professor at the Center for Historical Studies, JNU, Nilotpal Basu, Central Committee member, CPI-M, R. Balashankar, National Convenor Intellectual Cell of the BJP, Professor Purshotham Agarwal, political analyst and former professor at the JNU, and Siddharth Varadarajan, senior journalist and former editor of The Hindu. Welcome to all of you. Mridula Mukherjee, as a historian, I would like to come to you first. You think that those days when Indira Gandhi mattered in this country in terms of our political contributions are now, less and less important?
Well, I don't know,
because we don't...
Interestingly, surveys which are done about who's the most well-known and popular Prime Minister of India still show her up right at the top. In fact, above Nehru, which sometimes surprises me. But then I understand, because in the popular imagination, after all, she was responsible for the creation of Bangladesh, actually breaking up Pakistan. And that's no small achievement, especially, right. And I think, ironically, I'm surprised it's not being lauded today in an atmosphere where strong measures and Iron Man and Iron Ladies seem to be the flavor of the season. So I would have thought Indira Gandhi, some of her would have fitted into that framework quite well.
Balashankar, you think how does the BJP look at Indira Gandhi? How does she figure in the scheme of things at this point of time?
See, there are many facets of Indira Gandhi. The first that we can remember is emergency, because we suffered under her and we fought emergency, and that was a turning point in history. The second thing, of course, Bangladesh. That was a huge victory. It was a national victory, and people can never forget that. So, in fact, historically speaking, Indira Gandhi made a lot of changes in the contemporary Indian politics. Socialism was brought in, bank nationalization, a lot of things which totally changed the facet of Indian politics also. Politics, perhaps corruption came into the debating arena after Indira Gandhi. Before that, politics was a sacred affair. I think it was a mission. But with Indira Gandhi, it became a profession. So there are so many facets of Indira Gandhi. And I think it's a very interesting aspect of Indian history. 14 years she was Prime Minister, and lasting contributions, great economic changes. Of course, what she promised was not achieved. Garibi Hadao, poverty was not removed. People remained poor. But she used poverty as a political agenda. So in that sense, I think she was a great politician also. So there are many things about her.
That's interesting. Nilotpal, very mixed feelings as far as the left is concerned about Indira Gandhi?
Mixed in the sense that, you see, since you have yourself referred to the celebration of the 125th anniversary of Jawaharlal Nehru, so I think the legacy of Nehru in terms of nurturing parliamentary democracy, I think Indira Gandhi made a clean break with it. That is the first thing. First, 1957, dislodging the first elected communist government, and then subsequently what happened in my state of Bengal, after the second United Front was gone. And then the emergency. This is, of course, one aspect. The other aspect was that she was around at the time when the Cold War was at the highest. And I think I feel or we feel uncomfortable with this attribution of creation of Bangladesh only to Indira Gandhi. I mean, you are undermining the liberation struggle of a people, and it had much deeper causes. I mean, certain factors created a kind of conjuncture, and where I think she responded positively to history. And so far as the economic policies are concerned, again, I think 2008, after the financial meltdown, one cannot rule out the fact that even in this market-driven, finance capital-driven world, there is no escape for a country like India for a solid, independent economic base, I mean, which helped us in really avoiding the direct impact of the financial meltdown. So I think, yes, it is mixed in a way.
No, you're talking of the financial meltdown and all that. What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that the policies of Indira Gandhi, was relevant?
Yes, of course. If we did not have a strong public sector financial institution like the banks that we have, like the insurance that we have, and all that came in very handy to insulate ourselves from the direct impact of the financial meltdown. And people unfortunately, of her party has single-handedly created the process of decimation of that independent base on which India stands.
No, and it's very ironical that it was the UPA government which was in power, and it is post 1991. It is the Congress which was dismantling the economic legacy, at least, of Indira Gandhi. Agarwal, would you agree with that? How do you look at this?
Well, I look at the legacy of Indira Gandhi as a mixed legacy, as Nilotpal said, and more towards the positive. I would like to introduce another element in this discussion. You see, JNU was established by an act of parliament which was passed in 1969. And JNU started functioning, I believe, in 74 or 75. And at that time itself, this university had a school of computer and system sciences, which was at that time nothing but an exotica for a country like India.
Right.
So Indira Gandhi was one of those few people who had a very far-sighted vision of India. She could guess, probably, and her advisors, that this computer and system sciences is going to be an important asset for a developing country. That is one. And other things, creation of Bangladesh, bank nationalization, creating of a strong public sector basis for further economic
growth. Which was
growth.
a continuation of her father's policy.
Yes, of course.
It was not her own.
Yeah. But at the same time, the negative part of Indira Gandhi's legacy was, or continues to be, in fact, it is she who started the very idea of dynastic politics in Congress. Particularly during the emergency, very clear, unabashed attempts of crowning Sanjay Gandhi as the prince and all that, and dismantling the structures of democracy both within and outside the party. That actually, I think, continues to haunt us till today. And
continues to haunt the Congress party more.
Yes, of course. Of course. And not only Congress party, but also the polity as such. So, the point I'm trying to make is this, that you see, emergency, as he said, is right. Emergency is a kind of decisive break in post-independence Indian history. But let us not forget here that the Jaypee movement, which actually led to emergency according to, led to response in the form of emergency. Let us not forget that Jaypee movement also contributed in disturbing or in fact destroying the fine balance between institutional and numerical aspects of democracy. I mean, forcing the elected legislators by publicly humiliating them and their families, organizing dharnas and all that, forcing the dissolution of state assemblies and all that. I do not think that in the long run it is or it proved good for the health of democracy.
Would you agree with that, Bala?
No, I don't agree.
Because, BJP or Jansangh at that time was very much part of this whole movement, and, now when the later, after, say, after 25 years after emergency, when people are looking back at it and reassessing it, these kind of voices are now being heard, which was not heard in the first 10, 15 years after emergency.
Yeah, that is true. But I believe Jaypee was a visionary and he could visualize what is going to happen maybe 40 years later. Today also we are talking about recalling the elected representatives. We are talking about right to voice dissent even outside Parliament. And we are saying that Parliament is not the supreme authority the way it used to be or it used to be projected. So I think the Jaypee movement created a new dimension to Indian democracy and gave it a kind of agitational mode and involving the people in a big way.
But the question is what Professor Agarwal says, that it also contributed to the destabilization.
No, but the emergency was not the answer for that. And another thing I want to say...
No, not the answer. It's a reason.
Emergency was answer to that. What I am saying that, you see, I am not defending emergency here. What I am trying to point out is this, that democracy is not just the game of numbers. Democracy is about institutional arrangements. Democracy is about separation of powers. Now, if on one hand, for example, Indira Gandhi appoints somebody as the Chief Justice of Supreme Court, superseding 3 judges, this is one way of subverting democracy. So Indira Gandhi subverted democracy when she did something like this. On the other hand, when you force the electorate representatives, legislators or members of parliament or whosoever to resign because you perceive them to be corrupt or inefficient and do not allow them to have their full term, do not wait for the elections or do not wait for other political process. You just force them by publicly
humiliating them
and their families. There is a problem. That is disturbing the democratic
arrangement. Siddharth. No, Siddharth, I would actually like to come to you here. From what we have heard just now, it is that there are the present generation. When you look at the present generation, the social media generation, what is seen and read in the newspaper, there is a more of a negative memory about Indira Gandhi than positive memory. Would you agree with that?
Well, I think it has to do with the nature of her legacy, because today many of the negative aspects of public life that we are dealing with are all products of her period when she was in power, her approach to power, her misrule, if you want to put it that way. Dynasticism within the Congress party, which is something that Purshotham ji mentioned, is one aspect of this. But the nature of the creation of this high command culture, which is not unique to the Congress, incidentally, nor is dynasticism for that matter. So I think the perversion of political culture, the emasculation of political parties in the truest sense, and replacing the nature of replacing political parties with sort of loose association of family, friends, and cronies. This is something that is very much part of Indian political life today. Similarly, the destroying of or attempting to destroy the autonomy of institutions. We know her relationship to her attitude towards the judiciary, the bureaucracy, other state organs. So these are all, subsequent governments have, rather than reverse, trying to end that trend once and for all, have built on that.
Absolutely.
Similarly, resorting to Machiavellian or communal politics. In Punjab, we saw how at a certain stage she used militancy and the Bhindranwale movement as a way of undercutting the Akalis. Later, of course, that whole politics boomeranged on her, and she reacted, to my mind, with excessive force in attacking the Golden Temple. So these are all part of the controversial legacy of Indira Gandhi, and they are very much occupy the negative side of the ledger. On the positive, of course, you can say the push for strategic autonomy for India, so that India, in a very complex world situation, could maneuver and create space for itself. I think that's something that is on the positive side, and governments have built on that.
Okay,
so
Siddharth, I'll come back.
It's a mixed bag, really.
No, Siddharth, I'll come back to you. Siddharth, I'll come back to you because...
I can't blame young people today for...
Siddharth, I'll come back to you because Mridula wants to respond. Yes.
No, I just wanted to bring in another dimension which we are not discussing. How did she come to power after Shastri's death? And what was the reaction? I mean, actually, the old guard of the Congress put her in power because they
thought she would amenable
be
and
Gungi Gudiya, as she was called. But she proved them wrong. And the reaction was that the Congress party actually was split, and the party went with the old guard.
With the old guard.
So let's also remember that Indira Gandhi was left with no party. So I'm not giving it as an excuse, but historically, we have to try and understand how things happen. Because today, the task is not to blame or praise Indira. Today, the task is to understand the wider historical forces that were.
Absolutely.
So, let's also understand that she was therefore left with a situation where she had to build a party from scratch. Now, in that process, all these things come in, not relying on the regional leaders, the insecurity she had, then reliance on the family, the dynastic, all of it comes out of that. Put that in the context then of the Cold War at its height, the American pressures, the Bangladesh situation, and also then see how she handled it. The courage with which she faced almost the entire world on the issue of Bangladesh, the way she personally went and mobilized all over the world, went to all the world leaders. This is not to deny the absolutely stellar role of the liberation movement, but that liberation movement was given a home in India. The refugees were housed over here. They were given moral, physical, and all other support. The Indian army was in the picture. So we cannot also wipe that part of it out. I think it's very necessary.
Nilotpal?
No, first of all...
Nilotpal, I also want you to address the issue which Balashankar raised about how these institutions were damaged. The left, in fact, one of the charges, even today, when you read some of the analysts, even today, that she went pro-left, and that was the result. A lot of people blame today's economic state to what she did during that time, veering towards the left.
MRTP, for example.
I think I must respond to 2-3 points that have come up.
Yes.
First is Professor Agarwal was pointing out that 74 onwards, the Jaypee movement.
That's right. The Jaypee, yes.
Damage to the institutions. I think it is she who initiated the process of destroying institutions much before. I have already referred to what happened in 1959 with the Samaram in Kerala, and subsequently 71 onwards in Bengal, what has happened through Siddharth Roy, who was very close to her. So I think she damaged the Congress party. I agree with Professor Mridula Mukherjee that there can be certain immediate reasons, but at the same time, since this remembrance comes in the close heels of Nehru's evaluation, therefore that strikes in a country as huge and as diverse as India. Congress was a confederation, but this whole notion of high command and trying to address the people over the head of the party, in the long run, it has proved disastrous for the policy.
And fine. I think I will. No, but the question which raised by Professor Agarwal, that the Jaypee movement also was partly responsible for damaging the institutions. She damaged institutions. Nobody has any doubt about it. Nobody argues against it.
You cannot have a constitutionalist response to events which are going on in order to undermine constitutionalism. I mean, it was more of a response than initial initiation in some new dimension in the political process. And the other thing is this charges about her going left. I think in that
not a charge, it's a fact. It's not a charge.
No, fact means, I mean, anything which anybody does which largely resembles what the left says. I find before every election, all major political parties start talking like the left. That is not the issue. Issue is what was the situation? What was the background in which nationalization took place? I mean, the insurance sector, the banking sector was in haywire. And as Professor Agarwal rightly pointed out, that certain things had to be done to reinforce the independent basis of India.
You're largely in agreement with that as far as the economic policy is concerned. Yes, Professor.
Nilotpal is absolutely right. You see, in a country like India, any party which wants to win the confidence of people, whether out of conviction or out of just political expediency, has to talk in terms of the left of the center. Let us not forget that when Bharatiya Janata Party was established after the Janata government was ousted from power, initially their economic program was described as Gandhian socialism. So even BJP was talking of socialism, and even today you have to talk of inclusive growth. You just cannot escape that. What I want to add here also, obviously we are not here for praising or blaming Indira Gandhi or anybody. We are here to learn lessons from history.
Right.
And it is in this sense that I insist that whatever, and I am not talking of constitutionalism, I am talking of the very basic nature of democracy, where democracy must not be seen just as the game of numbers. And institutions must be respected even when you are fighting for democratic rights and demands. That's my submission.
Balashankar, this is the question now. Here we have a new government. There are certain concerns being expressed in different quarters about how this new government, what is the direction it is going to take, what is the direction it is taking. You know, whether some people talk of excessive centralization of power. This is exactly what were the arguments or criticism against Indira Gandhi also. Is the BJP aware that, you know, if it takes that direction, it can be compared to what exactly Indira Gandhi was charged of?
No, there is a fundamental difference. First of all, for Indira Gandhi, her faith in democracy was more fashionable, and as long as it suited her, she was a Democrat. And she had a weakness for it, in the sense that even after emergency, she wanted a legitimization of that period by going to elections. So democracy was, and as long as it suited. But for us, democracy is an article of faith. And BJP is a democratic institution in the sense that BJP is not the only organization. There are many organizations within the organization, and it is all democratic organizations. They all also influence the decision-making in the BJP. So to that extent, it's a hugely democratic organization, and there is no way any individual can totally control the organization. Of course, there is a period in which, you know, people are fascinated. There is a lot of,
idol worship.
No, this
is exactly the criticism which the Jansangh and the BJP used to make against Indira Gandhi.
No,
cult of personality.
No, today the kind of enthusiasm, the kind of appeal that Narendra Modi has, it is so universal, and it has nothing to do with any kind of propaganda or any kind of, creating that kind of an image.
You are saying that it's a natural process. It's not been manufactured. It's a natural process.
It's a very natural democratic process. It happened in a very natural course because of.
Girish, can I respond?
No, 1 second. Yes.
For almost 10 years, this man was, hounded by all kinds of cases and all kinds of criticism, and the media and the politicians all were after one person. So I think there was a huge sympathy aspect also.
So the reaction, yes, Professor Mukherjee.
No, I just wanted to ask, since he said that the BJP is a democratic organization, is there really a system of grassroots level membership, and through elections, the leadership is elected? Because I haven't seen that. And he also said that there were other organizations associated with the BJP which are very democratic.
Which act
to the best of my knowledge, the RSS certainly isn't, nor is the VHP, and nor is the other organization. So I was just a little confused.
Okay,
I really appreciate his statement that democracy is an article of faith.
That's very important.
I'm very, very happy with that.
Actually, let me get Siddharth. Siddharth, do you see parallels between Indira Gandhi and what's happening now? It's quite a few people are seeing that. But Balashankar says that as far as Indira Gandhi was concerned, it was fashionable. Democracy was a fashion statement for her. It's not so with the BJP.
No, I think two of the worst elements of power, the way they were expressed in the, should we say, the low point of Indira Gandhi's political career. When I say low point, I'm making a normative judgment here. One, the excessive personalization of power, the cult of personality, deification of the leader as having all kinds of mythic qualities. This is something that is very apparent today. The BJP may try to say that this is a natural process, this is organic process. But the fact is that Mr. Modi and the BJP encourages this approach to leadership. You frequently hear Mr. Modi speaking of himself in the third person. And it's very clear that there is a very conscious projection of the leader as the single point, the most important element in the government scheme of things. The second negative aspect, of course, which is linked to this first aspect, is the relationship between the Prime Minister and the cabinet and other ministers, right? It seems to me that the sphere of independent functioning or autonomous functioning or even the functioning of ministers as equals,
right,
which is needed in any healthy functioning of a cabinet system. Today that equation has gotten disturbed. And
no, this is exactly, and this was exactly the criticism against Indira Gandhi.
All the shots, and individual ministers are not even free to choose their own personal assistants.
Yes, Nilotpal?
I think...
This is the extent to which power has been centralized.
Yes.
I think I will be more blunt. Indira Gandhi introduced an element of presidential form of government during her later phases. And it is exactly that which is being repeated today. With all humility, I must respond to Mr. Balashankar that you see the so-called love and affection of the people for Narendra Modi is largely manufactured by the wholehearted support of the ruling elite, especially the corporate sector. We have seen the kind of money that has flown in to bolster his image and so on and so forth. And finally, one point, yes, Mr. Balashankar would indeed claim that these are democratic organizations. But so far as we understand and we have seen the research, etc., RSS does not have a democratic structure. And ultimately, the final say of what BJP does depends on the RSS. It was very clear when Narendra Modi's candidature for prime ministership was in fact
no, but how do you the question is now, since the question is Indira Gandhi and not
there is a contradiction.
Yes, please,
because he is talking about the personality cult on the one hand, and on the other hand that the decision is ultimately made by the RSS. And what I was saying is that within the BJP system there are checks and balances. There are organizations autonomously functioning in the area of labor movement, in the area of student movement.
Okay. Very quickly, both of you.
Very quickly, 2 points.
No, the question is this. Were there checks and balances in the Congress party? He says that there are checks and balances in his organization and also sister organizations.
Well, I have a very different assessment of RSS and its affiliates, including BJP. And RSS is the peculiar organization in the sense that it wants to enjoy political power without being accountable
we will not get into RSS. That's a separate debate altogether.
That's why I'm not
we are talking of Indira Gandhi.
We are talking of Indira Gandhi, and here I would like to just refer to what Siddharth said. He made a very interesting and important statement that the attribution of mythic qualities to the leader.
Yes.
And this was there in case of Indira Gandhi. Remember, Indira is India, India is Indira.
Right.
And this is there in case of Mr. Narendra Modi. So, to the extent that now we have comic books coming out talking about the great achievements and great superhuman qualities of Bal Narendra. So this is an important point.
I think we are completely run out of time, sorry. But, it's been an interesting debate. The thing is that we started off, asking the question, how relevant is Indira Gandhi today? Obviously, she is relevant because, from what we have discussed in the last half an hour, there are several things which, in history, which will keep coming back to us, and maybe the present-day rulers need to learn lessons from that history. Thanks to all my guests, Nilotpal, Basu, Siddharth, Varadarajan, Mridula, Mukherjee, Balashankar and Purshotham Agarwal. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture same time tomorrow.